Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking at a rally in Utah. But the reaction that followed has become about far more than his death. Almost instantly, there was a coordinated wave of outrage, not just about the tragedy, but about what Ilhan Omar had to say about it. But here's the truth. Ilhan Omar wasn't celebrating Kirk's death. She was pushing back against what she saw as an attempt to rewrite who he really was. And for simply telling the truth, she was targeted, twisted, and threatened by some of the loudest voices on the right. On September 10th, Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was killed on stage during a speech in Utah. His final words were about protecting the Second Amendment. The shooter was reportedly a radicalized leftist, and that tragedy became national news almost instantly. 3 days later, Representative Ilhan Omar gave an interview with journalist Mehdi Hassan. She started by offering condolences to Kirk's family, acknowledging the pain of the moment.
Like, I have empathy for his kids and his wife and what they're going through, because I do not want that.
No one should go through that, and we hold ourselves, I hope, to higher standards.
And we consider, you and I, as people of deep faith. And our faiths are based on grace and mercy. We want to be able to mourn and pray for this.
But the problem is the politicizing is being done by politicizing is being done by the right. Like this is always my problem when a public figure dies and people say you shouldn't say anything negative. I'm happy to not say anything negative and let the family mourn. But it's when everyone else tries to kind of do a whitewashing of who that person was. So obviously it was inexcusable to use violence against Charlie Kirk and to kill Charlie Kirk. No one supports the killing of anyone.
But then she said something that lit a fire under the political right. I do believe those of you interested in rewriting this hateful man's history are full of shit. She wasn't talking about the killing itself. She was talking about the sudden flood of glowing tributes that ignored what Kirk had actually said and done during his life. Kirk had downplayed slavery, called Juneteenth a joke, dismissed racism, and openly mocked gun control efforts after school shootings.
What I do know for sure is that Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives, after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country, by saying Juneteenth should never exist. And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah, there is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that, his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so.
Ilhan Omar wasn't making things up. She was quoting him.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. But I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful.
But the backlash came hard. She posted a follow-up on X to clarify her position. While I disagreed with Charlie Kirk vehemently, right-wing accounts trying to spin a false story have no shame. Even with that clarification, the outrage only got louder. Libs of TikTok, Laura Loomer, Nancy Mace, Phil Mickelson, and others piled on. They called her evil, ungrateful, and anti-American. Mace even tried to pass a resolution to censure Omar and kick her off House committees.
Let's bring in live our friend, the South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She's kind enough to give us a few moments before she heads to that prayer vigil. Congresswoman, first of all, thanks for joining us. Speaker Mike Johnson is going to lead this vigil. He says he's concerned about a lot of threats, by the way.
Particularly from the trans community or those who support the trans community, and also Ilhan Omar. I am making her my focus tonight because I'm filing a resolution that would censure her and strip her of her committee assignments. You're not going to glorify murder, glorify political violence, call Charlie Kirk a terrorist, and terrorize Republicans and try to get us killed by your words and your political violent language and think you can get away with it. Not happening.
Let's be honest about something here. These aren't just conservative voices. These are pro-Israel hardliners who have long attacked Omar, not just for her politics, but for her outspokenness on Palestine, Islamophobia, and racism in America.
You're here specifically because you are introducing a resolution today to do what?
A War Powers resolution to make sure that we actually enforce the Constitution, which sets powers of separation. It is Congress that declares war, and we have not been given that authority by this president. And it's, I think, really important for us to insert our authority in declaring war. What we are seeing with multiple strikes throughout the world that the president has authorized is that he does not have the authority to be able to do so. And specifically, the strike that was carried out in the Caribbean against the Venezuelan vessel, I think it's important for the people to recognize that we cannot just go out and terminate people. This is not something that is allowed under international law, and is certainly not allowed under U.S. law.
They've called for her to be deported before. They've tried to frame her as a threat before. And now, they're using her comments about Kirk to do it again. Even Trump jumped in, repeating a long-debunked conspiracy theory that Omar married her brother to gain citizenship, calling her scum, and saying she should be deported. Why? Because she challenged the narrative. Because she refused to go quiet. Her critics say her timing was disrespectful. But here's the thing. She wasn't mocking Kirk's death. She was refusing to let his most harmful ideas get erased just because he was killed. That's not hate. That's honesty. And that's what this backlash is really about. It's not about decorum or grief. It's about power and who gets to define what's acceptable to say in public. When a Black, Muslim, immigrant woman challenges the dominant narrative, the machine comes for her. They don't want Ilhan Omar censured for what she said about Kirk. They want her silenced for what she said about Israel, Palestine, white supremacy, and U.S. foreign policy. But this time, they failed. The censure vote in the House? It didn't pass. It failed by just one vote. 4 Republicans broke ranks, citing freedom of speech. Omar stays in Congress. But the attacks haven't stopped. Meanwhile, Somalia's defense minister publicly defended her. Hakeem Jeffries called the entire thing a racist smear campaign. And millions of people online are waking up to the double standard. Charlie Kirk is being memorialized as a martyr for civility, even though he often used his platform to punch down. And Ilhan Omar? She's being smeared as dangerous even though all she did was point out what Charlie Kirk actually said. This whole moment tells us something deeper. In America, if you're a white conservative who says hateful things, your death is a call for unity. But if you're a Muslim woman who speaks up about injustice even with facts, you get calls for deportation. That's the double standard. And Ilhan Omar isn't the first to face it. But she's one of the few still standing. You don't have to agree with everything she says. But if telling the truth gets you attacked this viciously, maybe the real problem isn't the message, it's who's afraid of it. So, ask yourself, why are they really trying to silence Ilhan Omar? And who else will they come for next? Let us know what you think.